Today I want to really stress the importance of the live gig. And everyone thinks, of course, live gigs are crucial. But I don't think everyone understands exactly why they're so crucial. To start speaking about the unsigned artist, the artist who has a demo, has recorded some songs, and the next logical step is to get it to the club bookers. Um, and understanding why the club bookers are the right person to get these demos to is essential. If you think about it, the club booker is somewhat the hub in any type of local independent artist community. These are the people that are talking to, of course, booking agents. They're talking to artist managers. They're talking to other artists. They're talking to the press. They're talking to retailers. They're talking to radio. So by contacting them, it allows you to have at least a tangential connection with these other players in the community. And it's essential really to start thinking of your local community as the place that you integrate yourself into. Too many bands go and they book a gig on the strength of a demo tape or demo CD and play the gig. People come, people don't come, and then they set themselves up to play the next gig. This will eventually end in ruin. If artists don't think about how they can maximize these gigs, you're going to be faced with diminishing returns. So you have to understand first that this club booker, the person that determines who plays in his or her club, has access to all of these other people, and then understand the best way you can maximize that. When I was doing A&R, there was certainly never a week that would go by when I wouldn't talk to a club booker. I was frequently talking to them because I needed to get bands on the label in a club. I needed to set up showcases. And every time I had one of these conversations, the club booker was also telling me about other bands. And that's a good example of how I would start to learn about these other bands and how important it is for you to have a good rapport with the club booker. Obviously, these club bookers are also talking to the booking agents who then want to hear about the other bands. The managers in the community are talking to the club bookers about getting their bands on bills. And the club booker lives or dies by the success of the club, so he or she has to get the word out about these bands, so she's constantly talking to publicists and to writers in the media. So how well you do at these clubs really ripples outward in a very big way. Once you've got the demo, you get it into the hands of the club booker in the most professional way. And again, there are resources on the Alpert website to show you what that package should look like. And on the strength of your music, they will likely give you a gig. It's important to think about also playing gigs, what I call non-professional gigs, playing gigs at house parties, open mics, subway stations, anywhere you can, so that you can start to develop a little bit of a following, but also so that you can start to get used to performing live. If a professional gig, in other words, a gig where you're playing at a club, is your first gig, chances are it's not going to go that well, and you're not going to have that many people there. So build up a little bit of a following before you even go into these professional gigs. As soon as the gig is booked, there should be a series of things that you do. It should set off a checklist that begins with getting the word out via email or postcards to your fan base, to your community. You just basically want to do a kind of save the date type email. And this should happen really as soon as you book the gig, and hopefully it's a month or so away. The next list you should have is really a VIP list, and on that list should be managers in the area, press in the area, DJs from local radio stations that have shows that play new and up-and-coming artists, unsigned artists, booking agents that are around town, retailers that stock the local CDs. You should have a very thorough list of who these people are, and you need to do the research to find these people. It's not hard. Looking at the local magazines and newspapers in your town, it becomes very easy to determine who it is that the people should be on your VIP list. The key thing with them is that you don't want to overwhelm them. You don't want to ask them for anything. At the beginning of your career, all you're doing is trying to show these people you exist. Having a gig gives you a reason to tell them that you exist. Without having that gig, you can't just send someone an email saying, hey, we're a band. Nobody cares. But once you have a gig, then you have justification for sending out an email or a postcard saying, so-and-so will be playing at this club on this or that date. That's all you need to do. And you don't expect to get write-ups or anything at first. But over time, as you do this for 6 months or so, these people start to see your name more and more frequently. And eventually you begin to get a dialogue going with these people. Eventually they're going to email you back and say, hey, I'd like to come see you play. At that point you put them on the guest list. If you don't have a guest list, you buy them a ticket. And from there, you start to develop a larger community. And that all has to happen before the gig. It has to happen as soon as you've booked that date. You go, you play the gig, and you give it the best performance you have, and then you follow up. You follow up first with the club booker. You thank this person, and you tell them, you don't ask them for anything either. You thank them, and you appreciate the opportunity to have played, and you tell them you'll check back at a certain point. You don't want to be going every time you're speaking to these people asking them for something. It begins to fatigue them. You also follow up with your fans. You can do this with forums, with message boards, with blogs, and these tools are available to you on the Alpert website that will allow you to continue to grow that community. Once you've established a kind of set routine that you get into with each gig, it becomes the norm. And the more times you can put your name in front of these people in a non-obtrusive way, the better chance you have of growing that community. And eventually the artists, managers, and the booking agents and the press see your name enough, and if you deliver the goods with the music, you really will start to develop a stronghold within your local community. The main thing I want to convey is that you really have to think of the gig, of the things that you do around the gig as is important as the gig itself. I think too many bands just think, okay, we've got a gig a month from now, let's really rehearse. And that's of course important, but if you just do that, you underutilize the gig. You don't take advantage of this opportunity to speak to the community of professionals, the booker and agents, the managers, the press, that you really don't have any reason to talk to unless you have that gig. And people have to maximize the gig before and after. Once you have CDs that you're selling in retailers, after the gig, it's very important to go to these retailers and say, you know, can you position these CDs in your local bins in a more visible way? Because we just played, we had 100 people down there, and they may be browsing through your store. So it doesn't begin and end on the night of the gig. It starts about a month before, and it ends about a week after it.